Hey there, viewer, picture this. It's a bright, sunny Saturday morning. The birds are chirping, the sky is blue, and I'm just a regular guy named Jake. I'm sitting on my porch, feeling super happy because I built a cool new shade all by myself. It's like a big umbrella over my porch, keeping the sun off my face while I sip my cold lemonade. Sounds nice and peaceful, right? Well, hold on tight, because it's not gonna stay that way for long. Nope, not even close. Little did I know someone sneaky was watching me like a hawk, waiting to swoop in and mess up my whole day. But here's the wild part: nobody, not even her, had any idea what was really happening behind the scenes. Oh yeah, this story, about to get crazy. Before we dive into all the juicy details, I've got a little job for you. Grab your phone or whatever you're reading this on and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from today? Are you at home, at school, maybe on a bus? I wanna know. And if you love wild, fun stories like the one I'm about to tell you, do me a big favor, smash that subscribe button. It's that little button that says subscribe right down there. Hit it hard and let's be story buddies. Oh, and while you're at it, here's a fun question to think about. Have you ever met someone who acted like they were the boss of everything? Like they thought they could tell everyone what to do? What would you do if they tried to boss you around? Drop your answer below, because I bet you've got some good ideas. Now stick with me, because this tale about to go nuts and you won't want to miss a single second. Okay, let's set the scene. My name's Jake and I live in a pretty normal neighborhood. You know, houses all in a row, kids riding bikes, dogs barking at squirrels, that kind of place. My house is small but cool, with a big porch out front where I like to hang out. I'm not super fancy or anything. I just like chilling with my lemonade, maybe playing some music on my little speaker. That Saturday, I was extra proud because I'd spent all week building this awesome shade for my porch. It wasn't just any shade, it was my shade. I made it with wood and some tough fabric I found at the store. It looked like something you'd see in a magazine, all neat and perfect. I hammered every nail myself, and when I was done, I stepped back and thought, wow, Jake, you're pretty good at this. It kept the sun away, made my porch nice and cool, and I couldn't wait to relax under it all day. So there I was, sitting in my favorite chair, feet up, sipping my lemonade. The ice clinked in my glass and I was smiling like I'd won a prize. The sun was shining, but my shade kept me comfy. I even waved at a couple of neighbors walking by. Hey, nice shade, Jake, one of them yelled. Thanks, I called back, feeling like a king on his throne. Everything was perfect. Or at least I thought it was. See, I didn't know it yet, but trouble was brewing. Big trouble. And it was coming straight for me, faster than a runaway skateboard down a hill. Now let me tell you about my neighborhood a little more, because it's important. Most people here are nice. There's old Mr. Thompson, who grows tomatoes and gives them away for free. There's Sarah, the girl who rides her bike everywhere with her little dog in the basket. And then there's the HOA. You know what that is. It's like a club for grown-ups who make rules about how your house should look. They're supposed to keep everything neat, but sometimes they get a little bossy. And in my neighborhood, the bossiest of them all was a lady named Karen. Oh boy, Karen was something else. She didn't just follow the rules, she acted like she made them. Like she was the queen of the street and we were all her servants. She'd walk around with her clipboard writing down stuff she didn't like. Your grass is too long, she'd yell. Your mailbox is the wrong color, she'd complain. Most people just rolled their eyes and ignored her, but me. I was about to get a front row seat to her bossy show. That Saturday, I didn't see Karen at first. I was too busy enjoying my porch and my shade. I had no idea she was spying on me from her house across the street, peeking out her window like a sneaky cat watching a mouse. She didn't like my shade, not one bit. To her, it wasn't cool or awesome, it was a problem. A big, fat, rule-breaking problem. But here's the funny thing, I wasn't breaking any rules. I checked with the HOA book, the one with all the boring rules in it, and my shade was totally okay. I even got a little paper that said so, signed by the HOA president. It was all good, or so I thought. Karen didn't care about papers or rules unless they helped her boss people around. And that day, she decided my shade was her next big fight. So there I was, minding my own business when I heard her voice. Sharp and loud, like a teacher yelling at a kid who forgot his homework. "Jake," she shouted, marching across the street toward my house. I looked up and there she was, Karen in her flip-flops and bright pink shirt, her hair all puffed up like she was ready for battle. She stopped right at the edge of my yard, hands on her hips, glaring at me like I'd just kicked her dog or something. "What is that?" she snapped, pointing at my shade. I blinked, confused. It's a shade," I said, trying not to laugh. "I built it, keeps the sun off." She shook her head so fast I thought it might fall off. "No, no, no," she said. "That thing is too big, it's ugly, it's against the rules." I leaned back in my chair, still holding my lemonade. "It's not against the rules," I told her, nice and calm. "I checked." But Karen didn't want to hear that. She never did. She just wanted to be right all the time. "I don't care what you think," she yelled. "I'm in charge here and I say it's gotta go." I raised an eyebrow. In charge? Since when? Last I checked, she wasn't the president of anything except her own fan club. But I didn't say that out loud, not yet. I just watched her, sipping my drink, letting her rant. And oh boy, did she rant. Here, where it gets good though. While Karen was busy yelling at me, something else was happening, something she didn't see, something nobody saw except me. Across the street, parked nice and quiet, was a police car. Yep, you heard me right, cops. 2 officers were inside, just sitting there watching the whole thing. And guess what? They weren't there because of Karen. They were there for me, but not in a bad way. Oh no, this was way better than that. See those cops? They were my cousins, Mike and Sarah. They'd come over earlier that morning to hang out and see my new shade. We'd been laughing and eating donuts in my kitchen before I went outside. They were still parked there, finishing their coffee when Karen started her big show. Karen had no idea. None. She thought she was about to win, thought she could scare me with her big, loud voice. But me, I wasn't scared, not even a little. I knew something she didn't, and that made all the difference. Every time she pointed at my shade and shouted, I just smiled a tiny bit more. She thought I was some regular guy she could push around. She thought wrong. And soon, oh so soon, she was gonna find out just how wrong she was. So what do you think so far? Pretty wild, huh? That's just the start. Karen's about to make a huge mistake, and I've got a surprise up my sleeve that'll flip this whole story upside down. Before we keep going, don't forget to tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And what would you do if someone like Karen tried to ruin your day? Hit that subscribe button too, because trust me, you're gonna want to see how this ends. This tale, about to get nuts. Stick around. So there I was, sitting under my awesome porch shade, sipping my cold lemonade like it was the best day ever. The ice in my glass made little clinking sounds, and the sun was high in the sky, but my shade kept me nice and cool. I was happy just chilling, thinking about how great my new shade looked. It was my masterpiece, wood and fabric I put together all by myself. I felt like a superhero who'd built his own secret hideout. Everything was perfect. But then, out of nowhere, she showed up. The trouble was coming, and it was coming fast. Meet Karen. Oh boy, Karen wasn't just any neighbor, she was the neighborhood HOA queen. What's that? Well, the HOA is this group of grown-ups who make rules about houses, like how tall your grass can be or what color your door should be. And Karen, she acted like she was the boss of it all, not just the HOA but the whole street. You know the type, always yelling about rules, pointing at stuff she didn't like, acting like she owned everything. She'd march around in her flip-flops with her clipboard, telling people what to do. "Cut your bushes," she'd snap at Mr. Thompson. "No bikes on the sidewalk," she'd yell at Sarah, the girl with the dog. Most people just sighed and tried to stay out of her way. But that day, Karen picked me as her next target. So there I was, minding my own business when she stormed over. I mean, she didn't walk, she stormed. Like a big angry cloud ready to rain all over my sunny day. Her flip-flops slapped the ground loud and fast, and her face was all scrunched up like she'd just smelled something bad. She stopped right at the edge of my yard, hands on her hips, staring at me like I'd done something awful. "Jake," she screeched, her voice so loud it probably scared the birds out of the trees. I looked up from my lemonade, still holding my glass, and saw her pointing at my shade. "That shade's too big," she yelled, jabbing her finger at it like it was a monster or something. "It's ugly, it's against the rules, I'm calling the cops." I blinked at her, surprised. Too big, ugly, my shade, no way. I'd worked hard on it, and it was awesome. It wasn't some messy pile of junk, it was neat and cool, like something you'd see on TV. Plus, I'd checked the HOA rules. I even had a little paper that said it was okay, signed by the HOA president himself. But Karen didn't care about that. She never cared about facts unless they made her look right. To her, my shade was a crime scene, and I was the bad guy she had to catch. "I'm not kidding, Jake," she kept going, her voice getting louder. "That thing has to come down, or the police are gonna make you take it down." Now, if I were someone else, I might have jumped up and started arguing. I might have said, "Hey, Karen, leave me alone, it's my porch." Or maybe I'd have begged her not to call the cops, all scared and shaky. But me, I didn't do any of that. Nope, I just sat there sipping my lemonade and gave her a little smile. Not a big goofy grin, just a tiny one, like I knew something she didn't. And guess what? I did know something she didn't, something big. Something that was gonna turn this whole day upside down. But I wasn't gonna tell her yet. Oh no, I was gonna let her keep talking, keep yelling, keep thinking she was winning. Because every word she said made me more ready for what was coming next. Karen saw my smile and got even madder. "What's so funny?" she snapped, stepping closer to my porch. "You think this is a joke? You think I won't call the cops? I'm serious, Jake. That shade breaks every rule in the book." She pulled out her phone, waving it around like it was a magic wand that could make me disappear. "I'm dialing 911 right now," she said, her eyes all wide and wild. I just nodded, nice and calm, like I was saying, "Go ahead, Karen, do it." She thought I was some pushover, some guy who'd freak out and beg her to stop. She thought I'd say, "Oh no, please don't call the police, I'll take it down." But here's the thing, she was so wrong. I wasn't scared, not even a little bit. Why, oh, you'll see soon enough. Her loud voice and mean glares didn't bother me one bit. In fact, they made me feel stronger, like I was getting ready for a big surprise party she didn't know about. Let me tell you a little more about Karen because she's a big part of this. She wasn't just loud, she was sneaky too. She'd been watching me from her house across the street, probably spying through her curtains with a frown on her face. She didn't like that I'd built something cool without asking her first. To her, I was just some regular guy who didn't deserve a nice shade. She wanted everyone to follow her rules, not the real ones. And when she saw my shade, she decided it was time to teach me a lesson. "You can't just build whatever you want," she shouted, still pointing at it. "This is my neighborhood and I say what goes." I almost laughed at that. Her neighborhood. Since when? Last I checked, we all lived here, not just her. But I didn't say anything. I just kept sipping my drink, letting her talk. Her voice got louder and louder, like a siren going off. Neighbors started peeking out their windows, wondering what was happening. Mr. Thompson poked his head over his fence, holding a tomato, his eyebrows all scrunched up. Sarah rode by on her bike, slowing down to watch, her little dog yipping in the basket. Everyone could hear Karen yelling about my shade, calling it too big and too ugly, over and over again. "It's ruining the whole street," she cried, throwing her hands up like it was the end of the world. "I'm not gonna let you get away with this, Jake." I looked at her, still calm, still smiling that tiny smile. "Okay, Karen," I said, real quiet, "call the cops if you want." That made her pause for a second, like she couldn't believe I wasn't scared. "Oh, I will," she shot back. "You'll be sorry." But here's the secret I was holding on to. I wasn't worried about the cops. Not at all. See, while Karen was busy shouting and waving her phone, she didn't notice something important, something right across the street. A police car was parked there, quiet as a mouse, with 2 officers inside. And those officers, they weren't strangers. They were my cousins, Mike and Sarah. Yep, real cops, real family. They'd come over earlier that morning to hang out with me. We'd eaten donuts in my kitchen, laughed about old times, and they'd told me how much they liked my shade. "Looks great, Jake," Mike had said, giving me a high five. "You should build stuff for a living," Sarah had added, munching on a donut. They were still there, sitting in their car, finishing their coffee, when Karen started her big meltdown. Karen didn't see them. She was too busy glaring at me, too busy thinking she was in charge. She thought calling the cops would scare me, make me rip down my shade and bow to her like she was some queen. But I knew the truth. I knew those cops weren't coming for me. They were already here and they were on my side. Every time she yelled, every mean look she gave me, it just made me more excited for what was about to happen. I could almost picture her face when she found out. Oh, it was gonna be good, real good. So there I sat, lemonade in hand, watching Karen make a fool of herself. She thought she had all the power, thought she could boss me around. But she didn't know what I knew. She didn't see what I saw. Her loud voice and mean glares, they didn't scare me, they made me ready. Ready for the moment she'd realize she'd picked the wrong guy to mess with. And that moment, it was coming soon, real soon. Okay, so things were heating up fast. Karen didn't waste a single second. She was mad, really mad, and she wanted everyone to know it. She whipped out her phone from her pocket like it was a superhero weapon, her fingers moving quick as lightning. She held it up high right in front of me so I could see her dialing 911. "I'm doing it, Jake," she shouted, her voice loud enough to wake up the whole neighborhood. "There's an illegal structure on this property." She screamed into the phone, pointing at my awesome porch shade like it was some kind of dangerous monster. "Illegal? My shade? No way." But Karen didn't care. She was on a mission and she wasn't gonna stop for anything. I just leaned back in my chair, nice and slow, like I didn't have a worry in the world. My lemonade glass was still in my hand, cold and sweaty from the ice. I took a sip, watching her rant and rave like it was a show on TV. Karen's face was turning red, her arms waving around, her flip-flops stomping the ground. She looked like a cartoon character about to explode. "You're in big trouble now, Jake," she yelled, glaring at me with those mean, squinty eyes. "The cops are coming, and they're gonna make you tear that ugly thing down." I didn't say a word, I just kept sipping my drink, calm as could be, letting her talk and talk. Neighbors started peeking out their windows, pulling back curtains to see what all the noise was about. Some of them whispered to each other, pointing at Karen. A few even laughed, covering their mouths like it was the funniest thing they'd seen all week. Me, I stayed cool, like it was no big deal, because to me it was. Here's the thing Karen didn't know, something super important. While she was busy yelling and waving her phone, she didn't notice what was right in front of her. Well, not in front of her exactly, across the street. There was a police car parked there, all quiet and sneaky, like it was hiding in plain sight. Weird, right? A police car just sitting there with two officers inside. And Karen, she didn't see it, not even a little bit. She was too caught up in her big, loud tantrum to look around. Her eyes were locked on me and my shade like nothing else in the world mattered. She thought she was winning, thought she was about to scare me silly with her 911 call. But oh boy, was she missing something huge. I saw the police car though, I'd seen it all along. And here's the best part, those two officers weren't just sitting there doing nothing. No, they were getting out of the car real slow and quiet and starting to walk up my driveway. Yep, you heard me right, cops were coming toward my house right that very second. But Karen didn't spot them, not yet. She was still screaming into her phone, telling the 911 lady all about my illegal structure and how I was breaking every rule in the book. "He's ruining the neighborhood," she cried, her voice so high it sounded like a whistle. "You need to send someone right now." I almost laughed, but I didn't. I just waved at the officers, Mike and Sarah, like they were old pals dropping by for a visit. Because guess what? They were my pals. More than that, they were my cousins. Karen didn't have a clue. Her eyes were about to pop out of her head when she finally saw them, but right then she was blind to it all. Every second she kept rambling, every word she shouted, she was digging herself deeper into a big messy hole. And me, I was loving it, not because I'm mean, but because I knew something she didn't. I knew those cops weren't here to help her, they were here for me, and not in a bad way either. Oh no, this was way better than that. But I wasn't gonna spill the beans yet. I wanted her to keep going, keep thinking she was the queen of everything. It made the surprise coming her way even sweeter. Let's back up a tiny bit so you get the full picture. See, Mike and Sarah, my cousins, had come over earlier that morning. They're real police officers with badges and uniforms and everything. They stopped by to say hi and check out my new shade. We sat in my kitchen, eating donuts and joking around. "This shade's awesome, Jake," Mike had said, giving me a big grin. "You're like a builder guy now." Sarah had nodded, her mouth full of donut. "Yeah, it's super cool, way better than my porch." We laughed and had a great time. When they left to grab some coffee from their car, I went outside to chill under my shade. That's when Karen showed up, ready to ruin my day. But Mike and Sarah, they were still parked across the street, sipping their coffee, watching the whole thing go down. Now back to Karen. She hung up the phone with a big smug smile, like she'd just won a prize. "There," she said, crossing her arms. "The cops are on their way, Jake. You're done for." She stood there, staring at me, waiting for me to freak out or beg her to stop. But I didn't. I just took another sip of my lemonade, the ice clinking in my glass, and gave her that little smile again. "Okay, Karen," I said real quiet. "If you say so." That made her mad all over again. "You think this is funny?" She snapped, stepping closer to my porch. "You won't be laughing when they get here. That shade's coming down and you're gonna learn to follow the rules." I didn't argue. I didn't need to, because while she was talking, Mike and Sarah were getting closer. Their boots crunched on my driveway, slow and steady, but Karen didn't hear a thing. She was too busy yelling at me, too busy thinking she was in charge. The neighbors saw them, though. Mr. Thompson leaned over his fence, his tomato still in his hand, his eyes wide. Sarah, the bike girl, stopped pedaling and stared, her little dog tilting its head. Even the people peeking out their windows started whispering louder, pointing at the cops walking toward my house. Everyone could see something was up, everyone except Karen. I waved at Mike and Sarah again, just a little flick of my hand, like I was saying, "Hey, good to see you." They waved back, smiling like it was no big deal. Karen still didn't turn around. She was too focused on me, too sure she was about to win. "You're gonna regret this, Jake," she said, her voice sharp as a knife. "The police don't mess around with rule breakers like you." Rule breaker, me. I almost giggled, but I held it in. My shade wasn't against any rule. I had the paper to prove it. But Karen didn't care about proof. She cared about being right, and she thought the cops would back her up. Oh, she was in for a shock. Every word she said made her look sillier. Every shout, every point at my shade, every stomp of her flip-flops, it was all building up to something she didn't expect. The neighbors were watching, the cops were closing in, and I was just sitting there, calm as a cucumber. Why? Because I knew the truth. I knew Mike and Sarah weren't here to arrest me or tear down my shade. They were here because they were family, and they liked my shade just as much as I did. Karen thought she was calling the cops on me, but the cops were already here, and they were on my side. Her phone was back in her pocket now, and she stood there, hands on her hips, waiting for me to say something. "Well," she demanded, "what do you have to say for yourself?" I shrugged, taking one more sip of my drink. "Not much, Karen," I said real easy, "just enjoying my lemonade." That made her huff like a dragon about to breathe fire. "Enjoy it while you can," she shot back. "Because when the police get here, you're toast." Toast? Me? Nah, I wasn't toast. Karen was the one about to get burned, and she didn't even know it yet. The officers were almost at my porch now, just a few steps away. Their shadows stretched across the grass, big and dark in the sunlight. The neighbors were buzzing, whispering and giggling, waiting to see what would happen. Karen's eyes were locked on me, so full of anger she didn't see the surprise sneaking up behind her. And me, I stayed calm, sipping my drink, watching her dig that hole deeper and deeper. Every second she rambled, every mean thing she said, it just made what was coming next even better. She had no clue at all, but she was about to find out. All right, this is it, the big moment. Everything was about to flip upside down and I couldn't wait. The two cops, Mike and Sarah, reached my porch just as Karen hung up her 911 call. She slammed her phone into her pocket with a huge, smug smirk on her face like she'd just won the biggest game ever. See, she bragged, crossing her arms and staring at me. They're here already, I told you, Jake. The cops are gonna make you take that ugly shade down. She was so sure of herself, standing there in her flip-flops, acting like she was the queen of the whole world. She thought she'd called the police and won the day. Oh boy, was she wrong. Then Officer Mike stepped forward, real calm and steady. He was tall, with his police hat on straight and his badge shining in the sun. He looked at Karen and said, "Actually, ma'am, we've been here all morning visiting Jake." Boom, those words hit the air like a thunderclap. Karen's jaw dropped, literally dropped, like her mouth forgot how to stay shut. Her eyes got big and she blinked fast, super confused. What?" she stammered, her voice all shaky now. She looked at Mike, then at Sarah, then at me, like she couldn't figure out what was happening. Her smirk was gone, poof, just like that. And me, I couldn't help it. I started grinning, a big, happy grin, because this was the best part yet. I stood up from my chair nice and slow, still holding my lemonade glass. The ice clinked one last time as I set it down on the little table by my side. "Oh, did I mention," I said, looking right at Karen with a twinkle in my eye. "Mike and Sarah here are my cousins. They stopped by earlier to check out my new shade. Totally legal, by the way. I even got the HOA permit last week." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a little folded paper, the permit I'd gotten from the HOA president. I waved it in the air just enough for her to see it, then tucked it back